That look in her eyes isn't about you. It's about what you represent. Before the first date ends, she's already built a mental movie with you in the starring role. The way you smile, the tone of your voice, the way you pause before not just attractive, it's symbolic. To her, it means something. You're not a man, you're a projection. She's decided you're the guy who'll finally understand her, never hurt her, make her feel everything she's been missing. You didn't ask for the part, but you got cast anyway. The problem? She's not in love with you. She's in love with a story, and in that story, you're charming, attentive, strong, sensitive, mysterious, but never too distant. You're masculine, but soft in the right moments. You're confident but never intimidating. You're exactly what she needs, not who you are. Your silence becomes poetic. Your flaws become depth. She interprets everything in your favor until she doesn't, because reality never fully cooperates with fantasy. Sooner or later, something you say or do doesn't match the version she's created in her head. And when that happens, the dissonance doesn't get resolved with logic, it gets rewritten with blame. She won't think, maybe I imagined too much. No, she'll think, you changed, or worse, you tricked me. That's how men end up being labeled cold, toxic, narcissistic when all they did was fail to live up to a version of themselves that never existed. It's not manipulation. On her part, it's unconscious storytelling. She genuinely believes what she feels. That's why arguing or defending yourself doesn't work. You're not fighting facts. You're fighting the collapse of a narrative she's emotionally invested in. This is why so many men feel blindsided when things go south. You thought you were connecting with a woman. She was connecting with a fantasy. You showed up. She filled in the rest. And when her internal script starts to crack, it's easier to blame the actor than admit the movie was fiction. That's when she say, "You're not who I thought you were." And she'll be right because you never were. Understanding this is power. It protects you from the emotional whiplash that comes when admiration turns to resentment overnight. Don't take it personally. Most of the time it was never about you to begin with. The sooner you stop performing for a role you never auditioned for, the closer you get to being seen for who you really are. You can do everything right and still be wrong, because with her, it's not about what happened, it's about how it felt one moment. You're her safe place. The next, you're the problem she can't explain. Not because you changed, but because her emotional weather did. She lives in a world where feelings aren't responses to reality, they create reality. If she feels neglected, then in her mind, you are neglectful. If she feels uncertain, then you must be hiding something, and no amount of logic, proof, or calm explanation can override what her emotions have decided is true. You might say, "I texted back in 5 minutes," or "I told you I had a meeting." But to her, those details don't matter. What matters is how she experienced them. And if she felt dismissed, no factual timeline will change that. Her mood becomes the lens through which she rewrites the narrative, often unconsciously. You're not just dealing with the moment, you're dealing with the emotional gravity of everything else she's ever felt. And attached to situations like this one, this is why many men find themselves walking on eggshells. They aren't confused by what happened, they're confused by how feelings seem to rewrite reality in real time. You didn't commit a crime, but now you're on trial, and the only evidence is her mood. That's why arguing, defending, or clarifying rarely leads to resolution. The more you explain, the more it sounds like deflection to her, because she's not seeking truth, she's seeking emotional validation. The power move isn't to debate, cease to remain still. Refuse to get pulled into the emotional undertow. Let her feelings be hers, and stay anchored in your own reality. Because once you start bending to her moods, you stop being yourself and start being whatever version of you she needs to feel better. That's how men disappear. You think you're in a relationship, but in her mind you're being measured against a checklist she's been refining for years. You're not starting from zero. You're being filtered through layers of past hurt, unmet expectations, and idealized visions of the perfect man. That man isn't real, but she's convinced he exists. And every time you fall short of that invisible ideal, in ways you don't recognize, you become a disappointment. You didn't forget her friend's birthday because you're careless. You just didn't know it was a test. But to her, that small miss confirms a bigger fear, that you're not him. It's not always malicious. She genuinely believes in the character she's assigned you. That's why she praises you in the beginning like you're the answer to a prayer, because you match the script. But over time, when reality breaks through the fantasy, she starts revising the story to make sense of the gap. That's when you notice the shift. Her tone changes, affection fades, and subtle jabs replace admiration. You're no longer the leading man, you're the obstacle in her emotional plot. She won't say, "I created false expectations." She'll say, "You've changed," and she'll believe it. Because women don't usually lie in these moments. They reinterpret. Her feelings revise the past to match her current state. Even the good memories become suspect if they contradict how she feels now. That dinner she once called perfect becomes the night you ignored her. That weekend getaway becomes a moment you were distant. There's no way to defend yourself, because the version of you she's upset with never actually existed. This is why it's not your job to keep performing. You're not here to fit into anyone's fantasy. You're here to be seen for who you aren't, it for who she hopes you could become. when you stop reacting, everything changes. Her illusions, built on emotional momentum and fueled by your responses, begin to collapse. She thrives on engagement or explanations. Your apologies, your confusion, it all feeds the drama, gives her story life. But when you go silent, truly, silent not out of spite, but from clarity, she starts to feel the emptiness where the performance used to be. That's when the truth surfaces, not because you said something, but because you didn't. She tests your detachment. She poke at it with accusations, cold texts, passive-aggressive silence, or even sudden affection. It's not about love, it's about control. She wants to know she still has emotional access. If you flinch, chase, or explain, you've given her the script back. But if you stay grounded, unbothered, present but not performing, the illusion begins to starve. That's when her mind scrambles for a new angle. Because the man who doesn't play along is the man she can't categorize. Silence is powerful because it confronts her with her own chaos. She can't blame the noise on you anymore. She has to sit with her story alone, and that silence echoes. It forces her to question whether the version of you she created ever existed or whether she just projected it all along. For some women, this is where growth begins. For others, it's where they spiral. You don't detach to punish her. You detach to protect your clarity. A woman stuck in illusion needs resistance to evolve, but that resistance must come from your refusal to be part of the fiction. Stay calm. Let her unravel. Let her rage, vanish, return. Your role isn't to fix her narrative. Your only role is to stay rooted in your own reality while hers unravels around you. That's where real power lives. Real love doesn't require performance. It doesn't demand you be perfect, poetic, or emotionally available on command. It requires presence, not projection. The rare kind of woman who values that doesn't want a prince from a fairy tale. She wants a man who shows up grounded, consistent, and real. She doesn't confuse silence with indifference or strength with control. She doesn't need you to read her mind. She's willing to speak hers. That's the difference between fantasy, love, and reality-based connection. When conflict arises, she doesn't rewrite the past to support her feelings. She questions her feelings to understand the present. She's not addicted to drama because she isn't seeking chaos as proof of passion. And when she hurts, she communicates not to wound, but to bridge. That kind of woman doesn't want you to fill her void. She wants you to walk beside her while she holds herself accountable. She's rare, but she exists. And you won't find her if you're still chasing the ones who make you prove yourself at every emotional checkpoint. That's why you must stop auditioning. The right woman won't need a script to believe in you. She won't shrink when you express your truth, and she won't vanish when you set a boundary. She'll see you, not the potential, not the fantasy, but you. Until then, every woman who needs illusion will try to edit you into someone you're not, and punish you for the parts that don't fit. The man who walks away from illusion isn't jaded, he's clear. He knows the difference between attention and connection, between projection and intimacy. He's not chasing validation, he's creating space. Because the woman worth loving doesn't need fiction to fall, she needs truth. And if you stay loyal to yours, she'll recognize it the moment she sees it.